everyone, and welcome to this week's Leadership Talks. My name is Martha Martin, and we are here to enjoy this talk today. It's a beautiful day. It might be a little rainy out there, but we all know we need that for the spring flowers to bloom. I'm super excited. We have a few announcements. The first one is this Friday night, we have an open mic night sponsored by Pillar College and InterVarsity. There's going to be poems and testimony and songs. It's going to be really fun. It's at 7 o'clock. You can sign up or click the link on our Facebook page for Pillar for Student Life. I've also emailed it to your student emails, so check it out. We have a library workshop today at 5 o'clock. So if anybody needs any help with Grammarly or research or learning about the online library, please join Vanell Speed at 5 o'clock. You have to register. That's also on Facebook, and I've also sent that to your emails. And lastly, but not least, we have a retreat coming up, a student virtual retreat for the spring. It's not this weekend, but it's next weekend. Please register. Anybody who does register and shows up will get a Pillar College t-shirt gratis, no cost for the retreat either. We'd love to see you there. We have speakers and worship and games planned. It's going to be awesome. So please sign up, check us out on the Facebook page and your student emails. Thank you so much and enjoy this talk.
And thank you so much, Martha Martin, Miss Martha Martin. And as you all know, my name is Professor Nishan Thomas. My goal today and my privilege today is to introduce our speaker. We have with us Professor Gerry Cleaves. He's known to many of you, and he has a very comprehensive background. He's served as an engineer, as a business strategist, and an adjunct professor for an extended period of time. And he's also the co-director of Enactus at Pillar College, and he's an adjunct instructor at Pillar College. So Professor Gerry, without much ado, please jump in and share your presentation and take us away.
Well, good morning, afternoon. And for those of you expecting Dr. Rupert Hales today to speak on the topic of his PhD thesis on how emotional intelligence correlates with Christian values, I have to apologize. My name is Professor Gerry Cleaves. I'm a senior lecturer in honor of my old age, and co-director, as Nishad mentioned, with Dr. Adera of the Pillar Enactus team. And when Martha asked me yesterday afternoon if I might pinch hit for Dr. Hales, I had to come up with a topic. But the Lord had a plan. In Jeremiah 29:11, he says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." It turns out our Pillar Enactus team is preparing for the Enactus USA early stage competition, which will be held in mid-April, and we needed to put together a 7-minute presentation. Yesterday, we were practicing that presentation, and all I had to do was add 10 to 13 minutes, which is easy to do for a professor, to that 7-minute presentation. And fortunately, Dr. Schroeder, who's just off his sabbatical, led a peers session this morning and blessed me with some additional insight. So we should have no trouble filling up the 20 minutes. As Nishad mentioned, after spending 25 years in industry at Exxon and 3 small global supply chain management and strategic planning startups, I joined the faculty of Fairleigh Dickinson University in 2003 in order to teach management and entrepreneurship in their Silverman College of Business. I also had been on the board of directors of the Market Street and Jersey Shore Rescue Mission since 2000. But I left FDU in 2019 in order to come to Pillar and to focus my attention on the topic for discussion today, the perfect storm of mental health, homelessness, and addiction that has stalled over New Jersey and the nation in the 21st century and has only intensified in the last year because of COVID. In the summer of 2019, I reached out to Dr. Wayne Dyer, and we formed the ABCD team of Adera, Bradshaw, Bell, Cleaves, and Dyer, and had plans to launch what I'll be speaking about today, the Anchor of Hope at Pillar College, a year ago. But then COVID came along, and we had reached out in March to Dr. Schroeder, and he wanted to join our team. Fortunately, his first name, David, began with a D, so we could add him to the ABCD team. We added Amy, and Martha. We had to find an A in her name someplace in order to add her to the team, but it all took a back burner due to COVID. But in Proverbs 16:9, we read, "In their hearts, humans plan their course, but the Lord establishes their steps." And there may be a silver lining in all this, in that COVID gave us all a chance to slow down and to focus on what's really important and what God's plan is for all of us. And I know Pillar, my family, my church, and many friends and colleagues have not only weathered the storm, but have actually come out of it stronger. I saw a meme of Jesus in the eye of the storm saying, "Don't focus on the storm, focus on me." I usually start this presentation with, "Hello, my name is Gerry. I am from New Jersey and I have a problem," almost like you would an AA meeting. But no, that's not my problem. Opioid addiction has reached crisis mode in the state of New Jersey and the nation in the last couple of years. It is part of this perfect storm of mental health, homelessness, and addiction that has stole over the state in the 21st century and has only intensified in 2020 under COVID. But at Pillar, we open with prayer instead of opening with mentioning ourselves. So Lord, be with us this day as we talk about leadership in the crisis of addiction. As dark as things might appear in the eye of the storm, we focus on you, our anchor in the storm. We have this hope as an anchor for the soul, firm and secure, from Hebrews 6:19. For those of you that are unfamiliar with Pillar College, it was founded in 1908 and is the only accredited evangelical Christian college in New Jersey. We have a diverse mix of students on campuses in Newark, Somerset, Plainfield, Patterson, and a new campus in Jersey City. The college has 700 students and aspirations to grow, not only in numbers, but also in the positive impact in the communities we serve. Pillar aspires to prepare its graduates to address the perfect storm of mental health, homelessness, and addiction in New Jersey through the anchor of hope at Pillar College. An average of more than 8 people die of a drug overdose each day in New Jersey. The Center for Disease Control reports death rates for Americans aged 15 to 44 rose 5% per year, and drugs, alcohol, and suicide are chiefly to blame. The National Institute of Health reports drug overdoses are the leading cause of accidental deaths in the United States, with opioids the most common drug for those under the age of 50. The complex, multifaceted problem is bad and getting worse. Drug overdose deaths rose 29% across the country in 2020. It affects not only the individual, but also families and communities. Addicts consumed by the habit often resort to crime and to violence. And there's now, everybody knows somebody. 10 years ago in one of my classes, I asked the students in my ethics class the natural question, where do your morals come from? And one of my students answered, well, it comes from my parents. And so I asked him, would you like to elaborate, care to elaborate? And he said, yes, both of my parents died of a drug overdose. And I'm committed not to go down that path. I didn't even know how to respond. I just had to sit down at that point. I just didn't know how to respond. 5 years ago, I had a football player in class, a quarterback. And he was pretty much a no-show student. He was there to play football, and if he had to attend classes, he would. But we, at about 10 weeks into the class, went on visits to local companies, including the Market Street Mission, in the 10th week of class of a 15-week schedule. After he came back from that class, from that visit, and reflected on it, he said on his final exam, when I asked, what did you learn from that visit? He said, I come from a family of addicts, but now I know there's hope through a place like the Market Street Mission, hope in the Lord. And that was a very important message to me. 2 years ago, or 10 years ago, when I would ask in class, has anybody heard of this addiction problem? And very few did. 2 years ago, half the hands went up. Students started crying in class. One student I remember worked at the office. The office is a restaurant right down the street from the Market Street Mission. And under the Jesus Saves sign, he had seen the sign walking to work, but had no idea what was going on in there. He said there were 2 overdose deaths of people that I knew at the office last spring. And he visited the mission, met with some of the folks there, including Jacob Caeta, who's a student at Pillar College. I've attended 3 funerals in the last couple of years of 30-something young men. And we used to say in the 1990s that 78% of the men who graduate from the Market Street Mission Life Change Program are drug and alcohol free 2 years later. But opioids changes everything, and we can't even claim those statistics anymore. In fact, a young man from the mission passed away, and his funeral was held yesterday. And we prayed about that at our InterVarsity class, our InterVarsity session yesterday. If we located all of the heroin addicts in New Jersey in one fictitious location, called it Heroin Town, it'd be the 4th most populated city in New Jersey, behind Newark, Patterson, and Jersey City. It would be home to men, women, children, some born into addiction. Opioid heroin addiction does not discriminate. We would find white, black, Latinos, straight, gay, professional doctors, nurses, lawyers, teachers, laborers, police, unemployed and homeless, just like any other major city. Across America, our cities are in ruins. New York, Chicago, Philadelphia, Atlanta, Houston, San Francisco, with demonstrations, riots, and looting all summer in Minneapolis, Portland, Seattle, and even Rochester, where protesters yesterday barricaded 100 shoppers inside a Walmart. Some say protests are justified in the name of social justice, but violence, looting, and murder are never justified. Last spring, people were predicting that the coronavirus side effects, including home confinement, lack of exercise, entertainment, and worship services, with unemployment levels not seen since the Great Depression, would lead to more deaths from suicide, alcohol abuse, domestic violence, and drug overdoses. These predictions came true over the course of 2020, as the perfect storm became even more intense. As I mentioned, drug overdose deaths are up 29% over the course of the United States. I believe American ingenuity and free market capitalism will save the world from COVID with Operation Warp Speed. New vaccines are now available in record time through collaboration and cooperation of government and global pharmaceutical companies. The growing consensus in 2021 is that we need to get out of the house, back to work, to school, shopping, restaurants, baseball, church, and the beach. I've been getting impatient, and with time on my hands, I've been actively engaged with a young 36-year-old pro-business, pro-life, pro-family, Jersey-born NJIT engineer to promote him or advocate for him for governor of New Jersey in November. At our February Black History Month celebration, I learned about Mayor Kenneth Gibson, a 30-year-old NJIT civil engineer who served Newark and saved Newark from the financial ruin in the 1970s as the mayor of Newark. There have been 3 distinct waves of opioid use since 2010. The first was a rise in the use of prescription painkillers like Oxycontin, which was introduced a decade earlier as a non-addictive painkiller by Purdue Pharmaceuticals. The second was the rise in the use of heroin as a cheaper alternative. Addicts would soon realize that instead of a $20 pill, they could get a $5 bag of heroin on the streets. And the third wave was the rise in the use of heroin laced with synthetics like fentanyl, which is even a more deadly combination. By 2017, we had a full-blown opioid epidemic in America. Nearly 30% of patients prescribed prescription opioids misused them. 10% developed an opioid use disorder. 5% transitioned to heroin. Approximately 80% of people who use heroin started by misusing prescription opioids. While we see the prescription and Oxycontin-related deaths decreasing due to mounting pressure on big pharma, doctors, distribution companies, and increased vigilance by federal, state, and local authorities, newer, more powerful, and addictive legal and illegal drugs will emerge. We find ourselves in the eye of a perfect storm that is gaining strength through COVID. I fully recognize that these are the Lord's problems, not ours, but we are compelled to do our part to help others. Dr. Schroeder this morning, in returning from his sabbatical in his peers session, encouraged us to be peacemakers out of love, not just peacekeepers. He spoke of lessons from the Beatitudes during Lent. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. Psalm 23 reminds us the Lord will provide, and we need to follow his lead. Reverend David Ireland spoke of these scriptures in his 2020 Pastor's Appreciation Breakfast. Don't focus on the storm, focus on me. In 2000, the United Nations established the Millennial Goals for 2015. Let me read this 2015 letter from Dr. Ban Ki-moon, the Secretary General of the United Nations. The global mobilization behind the Millennium Development Goals has produced the most successful anti-poverty movement in history. The landmark commitment entered into by the world leaders in the year 2000 to spare no effort to free our fellow men, women, and children from the abject and dehumanizing conditions of extreme poverty was translated into an inspiring framework of 8 goals, and then into wide-ranging practical steps that have enabled people across the world to improve their lives and their future prospects. The MDGs helped to lift more than 1 billion people out of extreme poverty to make inroads against hunger, to enable more girls to attend school than ever before, and to protect our planet. They generated new and innovative partnerships, galvanizing public opinion, and showed the immense value of getting ambitious goals. By putting people and their immediate needs at the forefront, the MDGs reshaped decision-making in developed and developing countries alike. Yet for all the remarkable gains, I am keenly aware that inequalities persist and that progress has been uneven. The world's poor remain overwhelmingly concentrated in some parts of the world. In 2011, nearly 60% of the world's 1 billion extremely poor people lived in just 5 countries. Too many women continue to die during pregnancy or from childbirth-related complications. Progress tends to bypass women and those who are lowest on the economic ladder, who are disadvantaged because of their age, disability, or ethnicity. Disparities between rural and urban areas remain pronounced. Experiences and evidence from the efforts to achieve the MDGs demonstrated that we know what to do, but further progress will require an unswerving political will and collective long-term effort. We need to tackle root causes and do more to integrate the economic, social, and environmental dimensions of sustainable development. The emerging post-2015 development agenda, including the set of sustainable development goals, strives to reflect these lessons, build on our successes, and put all countries together firmly on a track towards a more prosperous, sustainable, and equitable world. Reflecting on the MDGs and looking ahead to the next 15 years, there is no question that we can deliver on our shared responsibility to put an end to poverty, leave no one behind, and create a world of dignity for all. And this is Ban Ki-moon, Secretary General of the United Nations. In 2015, these millennial goals were updated to the UN 2030 Sustainable Development Goals. We need only ask the Honorable Shelley Bell how difficult it is to get a single community on the same page, let alone one state, a nation, or the world. The goals that resonate with us in the Pillar and Actus team are number 3, good health and well-being, and number 17, partnerships for the goals. Addressing in a meaningful way the perfect storm of mental health, homelessness, and addiction, which has stalled over New Jersey and the nation in the 21st century and has intensified during COVID, is reflected in goal number 3. And only the Lord can accomplish these alone, but the rest of us need partnerships to achieve the goal, hence number 17. The Anchor of Hope model is for a college or university to align with a rescue mission or a nonprofit, like-minded community advocacy organizations, state and federal organizations to address an important social issue. Activities on campus will be coordinated by an Enactus team. The Anchor of Hope Alliance was formed to address the current opioid crisis and is partnering with Pillar College in New Jersey to form the Anchor of Hope at Pillar College. The Anchor of Hope model was first presented at the Enactus USA Expo in 2019, Best Practices in Social Innovation, and again at the 2020 Enactus World Cup. We believe it is a model that will have a meaningful impact on the opioid addiction crisis and would be scalable through Enactus to other colleges and universities. Pillar College, established in 1908, and the Market Street Mission, established 1889, have had informal relationships that go back decades. Several of the mission clients, interns, and graduates have been or currently are students at Pillar College. Faculty at Pillar College are involved with the Market Street Mission, and some affiliated with the mission have taught at Pillar College over the years. Pastor and Dr. Peter Ammerman is a regular at the mission, teaching classes and working with the men in the gym. Jacob Gaeta is one of our stellar students, and there for a half dozen others or more, many have been expressed interest in becoming students at Pillar College. I've been on the board of the Market Street Mission in Morristown and the Jersey Shore Rescue Mission in Asbury Park since 2000. Tom Giglio taught it in the LEAD program in the 1990s. We're establishing a new ministry in Newton, New Jersey, which is in Sussex County, and Tom Russo, the town manager or mayor, also teaches in our LEAD program. I have learned that everyone at Pillar knows someone at the mission and vice versa. On a related note, everyone knows about Ocean Grove. My wife and I moved here a year ago in a home that has been in my family for 50 years. Growth in Patterson is a strategic initiative for the Pillar College, and we have new classroom facilities that have just opened. My in-laws grew up in Patterson, where my father-in-law played basketball with Larry Doby, baseball Hall of Famer, and the Cleveland, dare I say, Indians, and was the first African-American ball player in the American League. Patterson, like many industrial towns in the Northeast, has fallen on hard times over the last 50 years. Through the Market Street mission, I've gotten to know Donnie Walton, who's a Patterson native, a Rutgers graduate and football player in the 1970s. He's now executive director of the Good Shepherd Mission on Broadway in Patterson, established in the early 1900s. We visited the mission in January with Patterson Relief and are planning a second visit with Pillar students, faculty, and staff in April. Plans are in the works for a Newark relief effort in Military Park with Pillar and a local church, organized by Pillar and Actus. Representatives of the New Jersey Rescue Mission and recovery facilities participated in a conversation about addiction and best practices for recovery in Newark, organized by Dr. Bradshaw and the Psychology and Counseling, or Psychi Club at Pillar College, with the Anchor of Hope Alliance. It was held at the historic Robert Treat Hotel back in November 22nd, 2019. Speakers came from the FBI and DEA with a panel of the Market Street, Jersey Shore, Good Shepherd missions, along with representations from Covenant House and Damon House and Essex County College. More sessions around the state were planned pre-COVID, and now will be set up as Zoom events. While opioid addiction does not discriminate, it has hit the urban communities even harder. Pillar College, with campuses in Newark, Patterson, Plainfield, and now Jersey City, working with rescue missions in Asbury Park, Patterson, Newark, and Trenton, is uniquely positioned and will partner with other New Jersey universities and their Enactus teams. We will work with New Jersey rescue missions, including our long-standing contacts at the Market Street Mission in Morristown, which you see on the left, and you will recognize several Pillar employees located in that picture. Contacts on the right is with the New Jersey Rescue Mission of Trenton, and we'll also work with the Good Shepherd Mission in Patterson to share best practices in counseling, prevention, and recovery, particularly in urban underserved communities, and give those organizations the visibility and the recognition that they deserve. Mental health issues affect all of society. It's estimated that about 1 in 5 Americans experience a diagnosable mental health disorder in any given year. The recent COVID-19 crisis has only aggravated this concern. Pillar College, working with the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, organized a mental health first aid training and certification for the local community. Our Enactus team will help organize additional sessions to train our students to address mental health issues at home, in their communities, and in their careers. I happened to attend the last live session in February of 2020 before COVID hit, but we've also reorganized it to put it online and have scheduled 6 online sessions in November through March, December of 2020, and January, February, and March of 2021. Natalie Dixon, our Enactus VP, Natalie Dixon and I joined the Patterson Relief with board members and friends of the Market Street Mission, and we are organizing another session in April with Patterson for Pillar students, faculty, and staff. We are planning stages of to initiate in Military Park with Newark and a local church. Pillar and Actus also participated in the annual Fall Coat Drive to support the Market Street and Jersey Shore rescue missions in 2020. We collected 75 items overall. Our unique innovative contribution was from our president, Susan Thompson, who added an online component through yougivegoods.com, which collapsed the supply chain by allowing people to order items online and have them delivered directly to the mission. We collected 1/3 of the items through this method. Natalie Dixon, our Enactus VP, participated in an online project with students across the US and students in Morocco. This is all done online. She assumed a leadership role and the team performed very well. Both Natalie and Susan also joined and completed the Enactus Bank of New York Mellon Student Fellows and learned leadership skills that are now being deployed to grow our Enactus team. And Natalie and I joined the Patterson Relief with board members from the Market Street Mission and friends and are organizing, as I said, another session in April in Patterson for Pillar students, faculty, and staff, and an event in Military Park with Pillar, Newark, and perhaps a local church. The UN Sustainable Development Goals are the blueprint to achieve a better and a more sustainable future for all. The 17 goals are all interconnected, and it is important that we progress on all by 2030. Our mission is to save one person, one family, one community, and one state from the ravages of addiction by offering hope as an anchor for the soul, Hebrews 6:19. And Access to Pillar College will play an important role in coordinating and promoting activities to address the perfect storm of mental health, homelessness, and addiction that has stalled over New Jersey and made worse by the anxiety, confinement, and unemployment resulting from COVID-19 mediation.